So today I'm doing spark plugs on this E39 530i. This video is essentially the same for all M54 powered 6-cylinder engines, and even the the 2.5 and 3.0 liter engine. It's fairly the same. First thing you're going to do is I'm going to grab my trim removal tool, and you're going to prop open these little covers here so that you can have access to the hex bolts, or the hex nuts rather, that hold on to the plastic cover here on top of the cylinder. Next, you're going to use a 10mm socket to loosen up these nuts. There's one on the right side and then one on the left side over here. Once you've removed both of those nuts, you're going to loosen the oil cap, and you're going to grab from the side here and lift up the cover and slide it out of the way. To loosen the coils that are on top of the spark plug, you're simply going to use two fingers and lift up on each of these little retaining clips. There we go. Shimmy them up. Get to all of them. Once the clips are up, you're just simply going to pull the wire harness out of the way. Just pull it out. If it's stuck, just make sure you pull the clip out of the way a bit further. Once you've removed all the plugs, next you're going to take a 10mm socket and you're going to remove the bolts that attach to each of the coils. At the front and the end here, you'll see that there's actually a grounding wire. What I did is I took one of the nuts that I used to hold the cover on to just hold the bolt there in place. This way I don't lose it. And it reminds me that there's a grounding wire that I got to put back on the last post here. Once you've loosened up all the bolts, simply go in and remove the coil out of the spark plug well, and now you're ready to pull the spark plugs out. By the way, now's a good time to inspect that there's no oil on the edges or the bottoms of the coil rubber boot. If you do have oil there, it means it's time for a valve cover gasket. And while you have this little part, might be a good time to actually replace that, assuming you have the parts. Next, you're going to use your socket to remove the spark plug. It'll help if you have one of the specialty spark plug deep well socket removers. Otherwise, I think a 5/8 socket will work, an SAE size will work, and you'll be able to grab the bottom of the spark plug and pull out. If you don't have one of those special really neat spark plug holders, you can also get a telescoping magnet and pull it out that way once you loosen it up, because otherwise there's no way to actually grab it out of the well there. And I'm going to inspect. So as far as the actual replacement spark plug, it's almost a religious debate whether to go OE or OEM. For certain parts of the car, I'm kind of an OE guy. I don't think there's a right or wrong way of doing it, and I'm not saying it to brag. I just chose to buy the OE ones. It looks like Bosch is the original manufacturer of these. They say Bosch BMW on there. The actual part number is, where is it listed on here? It's FGR 7DQP. The car that I'm working on here had NGK spark plugs, which are also applicable to this engine. You can see, I guess these have been here for a long time. There's some discoloration going on here on the ceramic part of the spark plug. As to coat with anti-sieze or not coat, from what I understand, the newer spark plugs have a nickel type finishing on them. These shinier finishes on there do not require the application of anti-sieze. And as you can see here, these have a dull finish to it compared to those. I'm going to put a dab of copper anti-sieze. These spark plugs that were in here for a while, they were a little bit difficult to remove, namely after the first break when you were loosening it up. So again, do what you want. My car, I'm going to put a small dab of copper anti-sieze. Make note that these specify 30 Newton meters of torque when you put them back in. When you do apply copper anti-sieze, it changes the friction of the threads there. So you'll want to torque it a little bit less, I believe, than what the manufacturers recommend. So just going back to the OE versus OEM replacement parts, I guess another reason why I like using genuine parts is it comes with a 2-year unlimited mileage warranty, which includes labor. So I like paying a little bit more up front, just in case something went wrong. I like knowing that I have the manufacturer's guarantee behind it. Even though these are spark plugs, they're going to be fine. Nothing's going to happen. Whatever. It's no big deal for me. So just noticed something. I pointed out before that one of these has a shiny finish to it. As I was reading about these online, actually, it looks like the NGK manufacturer, they're the ones that apply this nickel coating to the spark plug so that you don't have to put the anti-seize on there. Actually, all but one of these are Bosch. One of these replacement ones is actually NGK. And so there you go. You buy the OE, you get a mix mash of parts here. I'm curious. Yeah, it's got the same part number as the old one in here that's stamped on the metal housing there. Either way, I'm still going to put some copper anti-seize on there. So I've applied some copper anti-seize to all of the threads, just a little bit on the new spark plugs here. Now I'm going to put them back into the car. A lot of videos or manuals that you read when describing the process to reinstall the spark plugs, they stress the importance of hand tightening. The reason why you want to do that is you don't want to cross thread the threads inside the well there, because then you'll ruin your head, and you'll have to re-tap it, or it's just a process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the spark plug back in there. I'm going to thread counterclockwise like I was loosening it, just to kind of find the spot where this will catch and start manually tightening it up. When I can't tighten it up anymore, that's when I'll grab my my socket wrench and my torque wrench, and I'll torque these to spec. These are 30 Newton meters, but because I put some anti-seize in there, I'm going to tighten a little less, probably like 25. So I've reached the point where I'm at the last cylinder, the last spark plug, and I didn't point it out before, but I should probably point it out now. As you can see, I did not remove the vent here. This is part of the air filter for the cabin. I didn't take it off, and the reason why I didn't take it off is because you don't really have to. If you have a couple of small extension pieces, you can get to the last spark plug to remove it and to also put it in. So what you could do is, or what I do is, I kind of get it started by getting the spark plug holder, the spark plug in, and one small extension in there, and just drop it in the well. Once it's in there, I'm going to hand tighten it, go left first, and then I'm going to go right. It's not catching, so I'll keep going left. And then, once I'm comfortable, I'm going to take the small extension and build it up. Now I have more room, and now I can put my socket wrench on there and tighten it once I get past the point where I can't no longer hand tighten. Also, this will allow me to torque it to spec when I'm ready. So I'm going to do that. Now, of course, the only problem is sometimes if you go to pull the extensions out, the extensions will pull out. So in this case, just grab a set of needle nose pliers and grab the. Oh, you get one of these to happen. Now I'll have to just be creative and keep building this up to get it out. So now I'm getting ready to tighten everything with my torque wrench. What I don't want to have happen is have this 5/8 spark plug socket get stuck again. So I use the pick right here, and I remove the rubber bushing, whatever, that's inside of this, so that it won't attach onto the housing of the piece of the spark plug and get stuck again. I can always put that back in later. Now that I've got all the spark plugs back into the engine, I'm going to take a little bit of electrical cleaner, and I'm going to spray it into the bottom of the boot that comes into contact with the top of the spark plug. And as you start wrapping up, you're going to put the coils back in on the spark plugs. You're going to plug the harness back into the coil, then push the clamp down, right? And then obviously you want to put the you want to do this with a hand. You want to put the bolts back in, right? So don't forget the last one over here and the top one over here. Can't see beginning with this, have the grounding wire on there, so make sure you put that on. Once you've buttoned everything up, make sure you put the valve cover back on and tighten the two small little nuts, and then put the little plastic covers back on there. And you're done.